Hey there, it's James Taylor, and I'm delighted today to welcome my guest, Tom Sligting. The speaking industry is going through massive changes at the moment, and if you want to survive and thrive in this new age, my next guest believes that you need to disrupt yourself. His name is Tom Sligting. He's a keynote speaker based in Amsterdam and is also a professional member of PSA Holland. It's my great pleasure to welcome Tom with us today. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you very much, James, and nice to see you again. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. So share with everyone what's happening in your world just now.
Well, everybody, it's summer now. So it's July if people watch this later, and everybody's outside on the beach or having holidays. And I'm actually 10 or 12 or 15 hours a day in my studio preparing because I'm so excited about a lot of new stuff. I developed a lot of new stuff I think about, and there's a lot of work to do actually. And so I'm really into that. I'm building new websites. I've got my new weekly vlogs. I've been to Singapore for a couple of times, and every time you hear you need to get out there. Well, I don't have to tell you, you are out there every hour, I guess. But I'm building on the whole speaker business perspective.
So take us back. I mean, how did you get into this very strange world of international speaking?
That's a very good question because international speaking, I have been a speaker for the last 25 years. So that's a strange angle to be a professional speaker. And sometimes I've spoken in England or in Portugal. So, but now my mindset is to be a global speaker, a global keynote speaker. And so I see that I see this way that I'm having my ship and I'm just adjusting my ship, make it bigger, wider, and the range is going to be longer. So it's not that I'm going to change something. It's not that I'm going to be from a consultant to a speaker or a doctor to a speaker. I have been a speaker for the last 25 years, but it is a big difference if you work in the domestic market in Holland to do company gigs, or you want to be an international global keynote speaker. That is, but I really like the challenge. And that's why I invested a lot in the PSA Holland and the PSA International. I've been to Antwerp, to Paris, to Singapore. Tonight I've got a meeting with 3-4 international speakers. So I'm really, the last 2-3 years, do as much as possible to see what is that world about and talk to the leaders who are in that market right now.
So tell us, as you were starting to make this transition from being a speaker in Holland primarily for the market there, I'm guessing you were speaking mostly in Dutch when you're speaking there, having to make that transition to now speaking internationally, and I'm thinking you're then obviously going to speaking more in English there as well. Tell me, as you were, first of all, what was the key reasons that you decided you wanted to go international? Because I know lots of speakers who do really well and they just focus on their home territory. They don't really travel outside. So what was it about speaking internationally that made you want to do that? And then also, when you did make that decision, what were the first couple of steps that you took in order to start maybe researching or thinking about where you wanted to speak in?
Well, for the last 25 years, I'm also a stand-up comedian. And I do tailor-made shows for companies. And I'm always booked as last speaker, because the last 25 minutes, I just make everybody crazy. And that's why people know me. That's why people book me. And that's what I'm good at, because I've got a lot of experience in that area. But I have also seen, I've done more than 1,000 company shows. So I've also seen thousands of keynote speakers. And to be quite honest, I mean, some of them are really good and you can learn a lot from them. But I also have seen a lot of keynote speakers who were not that good. And that's actually, I'm glad, because that's actually why they book me. They know there will be a speaker who is having a good story or a good message, but he will be a little bit low energy or a little bit dull or a little bit, predictive. And that's why they book me, because they said, well, we have to end high. We have to end with a lot of energy and positive vibe. So I'm glad not all the keynote speakers are that well, because that's why I made a living the last 25 years. But your second question is, why the transition? Then I thought, okay, wait a minute. I'm getting a little bit older. I've seen the whole comedy scene in Holland and Belgium, and And then I thought, wait a minute, what if I was on that spot and I combine all the years of experience and all the CEOs I've talked to the last 25 years or 20 years? That is a lot of content, a lot of information. And if I embrace that and make it sort of and professionalize it, then I will be that keynote speaker. And that was just a decision I made 3 years ago. And then actually the PSA Holland asked me, would you be a member? So I didn't even approach. They said, because we don't have someone like you in our group. You know, there are a lot of different speakers, and I think that's the best thing also in companies. If you have a lot of different people from different angle to be better and to learn from each other. So they didn't have somebody with the background I had, with a lot of speeches and the company. So I went to the PSA Holland, and in the beginning it was a little bit, I just had to look, and I thought it was hard that you had to go somewhere and pay for it. You know, I mean, if I open my mouth, I get paid. Not now, of course. But, you know, normally, you know what I mean? If you do a performance, you get paid. But when you in the group of the PSA Holland or UK or United States, then you're a group and you have to do it for each other. So it was a mindset thing. And then I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I want to learn as much as possible. And I just stood high, and a lot of doors were opening for me when I made that decision. That was really, really nice.
I mean, you'd already obviously built up this, you were very comfortable on stage, you'd spoken a lot. You were, because you had the improv comedy background as well, you were very comfortable but playing with audiences and the energy of audiences as well. Who were the speakers, or were there any speakers that you saw who had transitioned from being speakers primarily in their home country, and English wasn't their first language, their mother tongue, to actually speaking in English and really building an international speaking business?
Nah, actually, to be quite honest, there were no real examples for me. The only thing I knew that in the Dutch group where I am in, they're all Dutch, and they're all, you know, the first language is Dutch. And I think from the 12 people that I really work with, 10 of them also speak in English, and that's their second language. And for me, that was something, you know, it's also a mindset thing. I've got to work on it. I work on it every day. And I also acknowledge that, I also see that when I'm 3 days in Singapore, or I've been at a mastermind in London, and you talk 2-3 days in English, that is getting better and better. Yeah. So you have to say to yourself, if you're not native English, just go for it. And I know I make a lot of mistakes. I know that sometimes my sentences are not that well, but it's all about communication. So if you have the right energy and you prepare, you don't care about the mistakes, I think a lot of people will go for it. And if I can say one more thing about that, I mean, Fredrik Haren told me once, because he's an example for me, and I see all the other vlogs he's been named too, but that's normal, because he's a really brilliant guy. And I asked him, because he's from Sweden and he's not English too. And he said, well, it's only approximately 1% of all the English that is being spoken in the world. It's a native Englishman to a native Englishman. And the rest in the world is bad English. So he just said, welcome to the club. And that is sort of, okay.
You're in the 99%.
I'm in the 99% bad English. I was welcome in the club, you know. So it's, if you see it like that, you know, it's just, you have to do it. And some friends of mine said, well, oh man, it's terrible and you shouldn't do it. And that only makes me stronger to just go out there and don't even think about it.
But I do think the people from Holland, you have an advantage over a lot of maybe other non-native countries which are non-native English speakers, because I don't know whether it goes back to that Holland was always a very strong trading country, and so most Dutch people I know from Holland, they speak 5 languages. They speak multiple languages, are very, very good at languages. So I guess that puts you a little bit of an advantage, because you don't just know Dutch, you know English, often you know French and German, and maybe Flemish, you know, other languages as well. So you are in a bit of an advantage there. So you kind of started to launch yourself into the speaking industry, global industry, I first saw you speak in Singapore, and I'd never seen you speak before, and I didn't know anything about you. And you got up on stage, and you were really funny, and you were playing with the audience, and you were trying different things, and it was a great energy. And I mean, I just assumed you'd been an international speaker for 20 years or something. So it came as an absolute surprise to me when you said that was like one of the first big speeches, international speeches done in English. So how did that feel? Because not only were you doing an international speech in Singapore in English,
absolutely,
you're also speaking to 300 or something professional speakers. So
that was a real hard gig, and it was a tailor-made show. So it was not my standard keynote. Or Fredrik Haren asked me, because that's why I met him. He asked me, "Can you make a real tailor-made show about humor in speeches? And you have half an hour." And that is pretty, that's a challenge. But I have, that's all it's got to do with mindset. And as a professional speaker, you have to have the right mindset. And to have an insight how I look at it, I just focus myself. How would I be if I looked to myself? Would I like me? Would I like my own speech? And that is for a professional speaker, or maybe any profession. That's a wise thing, because then you step out yourself, and you've got to be honest. And I see myself walking. So 2 days before the event started, I was sitting in that room, and I see myself walking. I see the power, the energy, the beamer, everything I had on stage. And then you just imagine, do you want to be the normal guy or the regular keynote speaker that day? Or do you want to be outstanding, and you want to even love yourself when it's finished? Well, I mean, the answer should be number 2, of course. And that's what you have to focus on. So I never focus on what if people don't listen? What if they don't like it? What if I forget my lines? What if it's all, I don't even have one of those in my area, in my vision. My whole vision is I'm doing the utmost best speech. And that is because I've been in a lot of situations that I needed that technique. I've played for 4,000 or 5,000 people. I've played before Julio Iglesias, and people didn't even know that I was on. I flew to Afghanistan. I had the most difficult performances ever, and that's the only way to survive. To see yourself, to vision yourself, and see the best version of yourself. And that's actually a phrase that I use in my speech right now, but I come up with that one. That's real genuine, the best version of yourself. If you focus on that one, well, the possibility of the outcome that it will be the best version of yourself is much higher than all the difficulties you see. And if you see, well, maybe I cannot do it, because if that's the vision, you will drop out.
I love seeing either great comedians on stage or great speakers who really are very comfortable using humor and sort of jokes as well in what they do, because I know how much work goes into crafting those things. Yeah. Everyone, maybe from the outside, it looks like, wow, this person's just naturally funny. And they're obviously a lot of naturally going to be funny people.
It's a lot of work.
But there's huge amounts of thinking, writing, creating material. So for those speakers that are watching this just now, what any kind of maybe simple piece of advice if they want to add more humor to their speech, if maybe they feel like that you were just mentioning earlier, that kind of speaker that goes up on their stage is very good, but maybe a little bit dull, a bit boring, what they can do just to lighten it and add humor to their speeches?
Well, if you see your speech as an audio track, so let's say it's 30 minutes, and you want people to laugh. If you have an audio track of a comedy show, it goes like this. So wham, it's goes yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, red. That's too much. But if you record your speech and you see only a green area, then wait a minute, there's not a lot of buzz. There's not a lot of, so then you just have to find it. So you look at your speech, you said, wait a minute, after 10 minutes, I've got this story about my son. There's got to be something in it. And then you just have to look for it, because it doesn't happen just because you ask for it. You have to look for it. You have to work for it. But this is a way to look at it, because people just want humor. and that's a big balloon, you know. That's nothing. You have to grab it. But if you say after 9 minutes, because it's going doot, 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 and then I want a buzz or an opening or at the half, or then you know exactly where it is, and then you just try to find it. And it may not happen the first time, and then you work on it. But the comedians do that too. Why a lot of comedians go to open mics, because when they have a really, really good phrase or a really good one-liner, it's, you know, it's 1 out of 10 that they instantly have it. 9 out of 10 they work on it and they shape it and they take a word off and they in between, and suddenly it's a totally different angle, and there is the best one-liner they ever had. But that is 1 to 3 months work.
So when you're, let's say you've got that 9 minutes in, you think, I need to have something, I need to lift it, I need to add some humor or something to, you know, to that piece. Where do you start? Do you use like visual, like mind maps to kind of map? I know some comedians use kind of mind maps, or are you just going on long walks and playing with the ideas, or where's your inspiration coming from?
For me, it's like you said, a mind map. So if I would be creative, never be creative behind a computer screen, because then it's analog. Then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a creative process is something that it's creates while you're working on it. So if you get a big sheet of paper, I even work on flip over papers, because then you have endless crossing and arrows and red and white and yellow. So in the middle, you just say, well, I want to joke about this. And you don't even know why. What is all possible? Is it your because you're a father, because you did, because you that, and then suddenly something comes out of it, and it can take 1 or 2 hours, but it can also take 2 weeks. But that's the time you've got to invest. Yeah. If it's not your profession, if you're not trained to find the humor, it's gonna take longer, because even I remember finding it on paper, you also have to have the skill to do it on stage and multiple times. So that's the biggest challenge. And
be willing to fail, and be willing for that, to try that thing, and it doesn't work, or you don't get. I was a work in progress show from a comedian recently, a British comedian, Ricky Gervais, great, very funny guy. And he was doing a whole series of trying out new material in this very small little club, and to see what was working. And even as he was, because everyone knew this is a work in progress, he would say things like, okay, well, that one's not going to make it, is it? Because you'd feel it in the room, or like,
lovely.
Oh, okay, lovely. Far too far. And we actually bumped into him the next day, and then there was one particular line of jokes, which I'm not going to replace it because they're so rude and so out there that it's, if you know Ricky Gervais, you know that he can go out there. Man. But I said to him, I really liked where you were going, like that thing there, that where you went there.
Yeah.
And he said, oh no, and I think I've got something there, but it's not quite there yet. So I could see it in his brain. He was kind of like working through how he could develop it, how he could push it a little bit further. And that's, once again, these are all the skills that comedians use all the time, but the things that speakers are trying and need to add into their shows as well.
And if I can interfere, because when you make up a joke, don't bring it as a joke. That's very important, because if you say something like, if you say this as a line in between and people laugh, it's great. If people don't laugh, you just go on. So it's not a big hustle. I mean, for a comedian, it's like da-da-da, 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 da, bam. There's got to be laughter, because you push the one-liner into the room. But a lot of laughs into keynote speaking are because people don't expect it, because it's a serious talk. Mm-hmm. And then don't bring it as like, because da-da-da-da-da. No, oh, okay. And then you have to go. But if you just say it and 5 people are laughing, you say, okay, there must be something in it. And then you work on it, change your word. Next time, 10 people laughing. And before you know, you've got it fixed. And then you can bring it as a joke because you believe in it. But before the joke is finished, don't bring it as a joke as a professional speaker. Just say it. Just put it out there.
I think Zig Ziglar, he always said he tried to add humor every 7 minutes. He said don't go longer than 7 minutes before adding something in. Otherwise, it's too much. It can be too much for the audience. If you're saying you're not going into the red, you're not going to that level.
Exactly what I said. He just looked at his speech. 7 minutes. It's got to be something. 7 minutes, and then you record it. do it, and it's beautifully, and balanced for him. And for him, it's 7 minutes okay. For another one, it's one good laugh okay. And for me, it's like, every 2 or 3 minutes, it got to be something, interaction, buzz, laugh. But it don't have to be. It just happens. So that's also important. I mean, you don't need humor. It's something you just use to feel better, because it's a sort of arrangement you make with the audience. And if they laugh, they love you a little bit more because there is some empathy for you, and the chance that they will listen to you even more focused is higher when they have laughed about you or something you said, because they respect you. And that's all in that package.
Yeah. So and as you're making this transition from being a speaker in your own country to being an international speaker, I often think that humor is one of those challenging ones in terms of how humor travels.
Yes.
I see some. There's a great speaker. It's called Tim Gard from America. Mm-hmm. Really funny guy, and his humor is such a. It's so international, so humanistic. It would work wherever he gave it in the world. Doesn't matter the fact he's from America.
Right.
And I saw another speaker the other day, Mike Walsh, who's a British Hong Kong speaker.
Yeah.
Mike is a futurist, so it's very kind of high tech stuff. But because he has that little bit of the British thing that's kind of going on there, he uses a type of humor which is almost like making fun of himself and kind of downplaying, because it kind of takes the edge off the futurist part as well. Yeah. So when you've been, either for yourself or when you see those speakers who are using humor that you really admire that are doing internationally, what are they doing well? What those speakers are able to take humor and make it international so it works for any audience? Is there any kind of patterns that you've noticed there?
Well, I mean, this is a very simple answer, but the most thing is think globally, because if you say, if you got an opening line like, at the bus station near my house. No, even if you're not living near my house, you don't even know what I'm talking about. And some comedians do that. I mean, I work a lot with comedians from the United States, and they come over to Amsterdam and they say, I live in the Bronx and you've got this and that. And they go totally flat out. But if you say something about relationship, if you say something about the economic system, if you say something about Nike or Apple or something, everybody knows that. So so think globally. I mean, if they've got phones in India and they've got cars in Guadalupe, so, and relationship and hate and love and everything between it. So your topic has got to be something that if you are in a bar in Singapore or a convention in South America, people would have to say, yes, I know what you talk about. So that's the most simple answer.
Globalizing it. And one of the things that I think works regardless of which audience where you're speaking in the world is using props to do things, because it's a very visual way of doing it. Now, I think you're fantastic. You obviously love using props. I've seen you speak a couple of times. The last time we were both speaking at an event in Paris together. I think possibly it's the only event I've ever spoken at where they had to lock the doors because there was actual riot going on outside. but anyway, that's another story. But you actually brought a prop along and had real fun with it. Well, actually, you had 2 props at that one. So tell me about why you use props, why you like using props, any things you've learned along the way that other speakers can learn from.
Well, the first of all is when I make it up, I just do it. I never think, what might people think? And it's not a real keynote thing. And, it's like, if you make it up, just do it. And maybe I've done a lot of things that I stopped after 5 or 10 times. But now I've got something, this crazy catapultizer, and I've got some trust in it. That is going to be a sort of flagship for me. And there's two main reasons why I do it. Is maybe see whatever. The first of it is because I just make it up. I didn't said I needed a prop. I had a story about Angry Birds because that's a crazy company. 70 million customers in 3 months, and now after 3 months almost bankrupt. That is a crazy business model. So if you talk about disruption, they are a great example. And then you think, well, how can I, make this example more visionable, more engageable? And then I said, well, an angry bird is, making stuff. They break stuff, and I want to interfere. I want to ask somebody in the audience, and then you have this angry bird. Hey, there can be a microphone in it, and wait a minute, then I have to use the catapult. So it's bum, 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 it's just a creative process. But I never, in stand-up comedy, I never have used props. In company gigs, I never use props, because you're the last 20 minutes, you walk on and you kill the show and you go. But now as a keynote speaker, there are no boundaries for me. And maybe it's not normal. Maybe bookers won't book me because they say, well, man, come on, it's got to be serious business. But I guess there will be some bookers who say, wow, man, we've never seen something like this, and we needed something totally different, and give it a try. Well, to be quite honest, let's say we've met in Paris. The 45 speakers were there over there. There are always 3 or 4 you remember, not 45, not even 35, not even 25. And I've learned that from all the festivals I've played. I've played a lot of theater festivals, and even when I'm a speaker at a big convention, there are 5 or 6 or 7 keynote speakers and the director and the marketing guy. There are 12 or 13 speakers. They only remember you because of something. And I don't say it has to be a prop, but it can be a beautiful image. It can be a beautiful sentence. It can be your stage performance. It can be your suit. It can be your interaction, or it can be a prop. And for me, it's a couple of those things I just said. And I know, I only have this crazy catapultizer for 1 or 2 months. So I'm not sure yet, but you are going to be the guy with the catapult.
Yeah. In fact, you probably should get the domain name catapultspeaker.com.
Well,
people are going to be, because it's funny, because people, I know a number of speakers that switch, they don't almost use in their domain name, don't use their name. They use what they're kind of known for. Like Rob Waldo Waldman, he's the wingman, yourwingman.com. Yeah. We're going to know him from that as well. But I think the other thing that does, having the visual prop, so now I'm sure everyone's going to have to go online and see your catapultizer.
Please do.
Yeah,
the nice thing is, that the catapultizer was not a word in Google. They've never heard of it. So if you Google catapultizer, there's 25 pictures and they're all on me.
So everyone's going to go and find that one. But it's also that thing when people go into the office on the Monday morning or the next, a few days later.
Yes,
and they say, you were at that conference. What was it like?
It's okay. Yeah.
And it's what I think Malcolm Gladwell, he calls them the popcorn or the sweets or the candy or something, where you might be at an event for 2 days, but you want to either have the idea, the thought that you give to the audience, or the thing or some action or some prop that you put into the mind, which is easy for them when they get in the elevator on a Monday morning with their colleague, going from elevator, ground level up to the 6th floor, whatever floor they're on. They can say, oh yeah, I saw this guy. He did this really funny thing with the such and such. And then it goes from that. Well, tell me more. And then obviously when you tell me more, well, he was talking about disruption. That was really what he was talking about. And so
it's a big flag, actually.
Yeah.
You put a flag in somebody's head, and you will just be remembered by that. And that's actually why. And it's a lot of fun. And I was talking about, I'm talking about disruption, my audience. So if you aim a big catapult of 2 meters to an audience, they are looking like this one. Don't do this, So I mean, I didn't even know that when I made it up. But you call it walk the talk. If you talk about disruption, I have to disrupt my own audience. Yeah. So, and that's what I do, and I will do it even more. There will be even more things because I'm not thinking, is it possible, or what would people think? Just do it. I just wrote a beautiful song, a jazz song, and I just want to close off with a jazz number and a song, and all the highlights of my keynote about digging deeper and better version of yourself are in the lyrics of that song, and we sing it along. And people, sort of guilty pleasures thing, they hate singing, but they also, if you do it in a group, you see the lyrics, we all have to sing along, especially when you've got the microphone, you just push it somebody under his mouth. That's pretty disruptive.
Absolutely.
So I'm working on a lot of other stuff, just because it works, and for me it's also fun. It creates a lot of energy. It creates a lot of unique kind of keynote, and everybody should do that in her or his way. I mean, if you are a normal scientific speaker, be a normal scientific speaker. But I am this high energy, crazy, creative guy on stage, so I have to be that. It would be totally stupid if I would talk for 45 minutes in a technical way, like a lot of blah blah blah. That's not me. So you've got to be honest to yourself. That's the only tip I can give.
So you sweeten the medicine a little bit, I guess, in terms of this disruption, because disruption can feel like quite maybe a negative thing that's going on. We're being disrupted, and it feels like something is happening to us. But you flip it around with the audience, and so you're known for this idea about disrupting yourself. Yeah. So we could go. This is a huge area of disruption, but I thought what might be useful to talk about just now before we start to finish up is, obviously you're a SpeakersU member, you and I are working together, and what areas are you seeing that you're finding is most disruptive just now in the speaking industry, and how are you trying to disrupt yourself as a speaker in order that you can build that international speaking career?
Well, how can I disrupt myself? I think that it's got to do with guts. And that's, I've created all this content and 6-step to disrupt yourself and the catapultizer. And now I just have to go out there and shout off the roofs that I do that. And that's exactly what I do for the last 8 weeks. I make those weekly vlogs. Actually, I'm a performer. I'm a speaker for 25 years. And the last 2 months, I only posted in English, because a lot of people from Malaysia to Hong Kong to Singapore, to Paris, they react on my stuff. And so I focus on the global speaking, and I act like a global speaker. That's what you have to do. I mean, you cannot wait that somebody calls you and asks what the situation is. So I have to go out there, and we're now in the midsummer, so that's why I just finished all my website and I'm finished all my content for my vlogs for the next 2 months. So now I am just together with you also, I hope, is find some booking agencies who see my videos of that catapultizer, who see the energy. I've got more than 45 testimonials of people who've seen my show, and I mean, if I ever feel bad, I never feel, but if I ever feel bad, I'm going to look those testimonials, because then you see 45 loving reactions of people who like you, who were surprised, who were blown away. So that's also something you have to do. And last time in Paris, I said to 2 or 3 speakers when they were finished, I mean, you're sitting here, but you ask testimonials. No. Ask, you've got to do it. And they really thanked me with 2 hands after that, because you have to go over that bridge. It is stupid to go to somebody, here's my iPhone. What do you think of me? What do you think of me? I mean, but you have to do it. It's so much worth. And, you need that, especially when people are going to look you up. You need some testimonials. I mean, I can make beautiful websites, but I could make a website of a bakery tomorrow, but I can't bake bread.
It's funny, that there is you talk about the bridging from someone you're getting a testimony from. The one I've always used in the past is, if I'm lucky enough that I'll have someone with me, if someone comes up with when you come off stage, invariably people come up to you and they want to talk to you, and they'll say, oh, I love that thing you mentioned there, or this thing really means a lot to me there, or I'm going to try this. And they'll say it to me, and I say, that's fantastic. Would you mind saying that on camera just now? And then I basically just passed them on to Alison, who just has the camera, and we, you get a lot of those really, really, really quickly as well.
Absolutely.
So you're, I love working with speakers like you as well, because every speaker's coming from a different place. And I think about someone like you, you're like a great car. You've got there's a great engine, the bodywork's great, all the technology is really, really there as well. And my job then is to provide that fuel, is to provide that jet fuel in there, and directing a little bit as well, because you have so many of the component pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, not every speaker's obviously going to be some speakers come from
it's funny. It's funny you say this. I thought about it. If you would ask this question for how do you feel this afternoon, because speakers use a lot of metaphors. I would have said I feel a little bit like a sort of Elon Musk creating this Tesla, and everybody loves it and everybody likes it, but they they have to be sold. You know what I mean? So that's exactly. Now you use this metaphor. You are like this beautiful car with engine, with everything in it, and it's there behind a window, and everybody's, oh man, look, it's great. I would like to have one. But there's got to be somebody who said, well, he's out there. You can drive him actually. So to be closing off, that's a great metaphor used, because I actually had that metaphor to close off. So that is sort of,
and you definitely want to be in the Tesla as opposed to I can't remember what was the name of the car they used in Back to the Future. A DeLorean. They were actually made in Northern Ireland. I think they were made, those cars. And
terrible
they were really great. They were interesting cars, but they were just like, it just didn't work. But Tesla, they're really well made. They're well constructed. The technology is great, and it's just giving them the fuel. So I mentioned, so you're a SpeakersU member as well. What things have you been finding? Being a SpeakersU member, what have you valued about your membership?
Well, I'm always honest, and the point is, I see SpeakersU as a big database, and what I mean by that is that you've got to do 95% of the work you've got to do by yourself. So if you really see SpeakerU as a coach, then it's sort of, I will take you along, and that is not SpeakerSU. So actually, I've been a member for 1.5 years, and maybe 3 weeks ago, I opened the website and I saw some interesting stuff that I needed. But that's okay. I say now into the mirror myself here, that's my fault, because I could do that a year ago. But nobody told me. And you don't have to tell me. Maybe you could, that's okay. But it's, so my point is, there is a lot of information, and I just downloaded the PDF, what to do to go out there, and there were some interesting things. But it's not that you are going to mail me like, Tom, I didn't hear something from you last month, and I thought we agreed this or that. So SpeakerU is a sort of train, but you've got to be on the platform, and you've got to step into the train. Yeah. And then everything is there. Beverage, food, content, everything is there. But you've got to have the initiative as a speaker. That's what I think. And I think
like yourself, like the members that get most from it is those who are they are self-motivated in terms of doing the things, and they're going along. And it's funny, and different speakers will get feedback at different times. Some it's almost every day. They're sending in questions because they're working really intensely on something. And other times it'll go for a couple of weeks or even a couple of months because they're on the road, they're speaking. They're actually out there doing the thing that they should be doing. And they come back and say, oh, I've tried this, but this thing isn't working. And now I want to move into this new territory. And now I'm thinking about, I'm on the road all the time, and I need to add some back end revenue streams because I want to be more critical of the kind of gigs I do as well. So that's another level that you go to with them. So I'm good. I'm glad you're finding new things all the time as well. Let's go to some other tools. What other tools or apps do you find very useful for yourself as a speaker?
Tools or apps? Well, I don't use a lot of tools or apps because I think it's a pretty much a mind thing. You have to have everything in your head, and I've got this beautiful board over here and everything. When I've got an idea, I just write it on, and so sometimes I look at it and I just take something out of it and I'm going to work on it, because that's also what happens in the creative process. You have this and that and that, but you have to focus on one area, make it good, and then put put it aside, and then you can focus on another area, like website or content or customers or opportunities or whatever. So, but if you do it all at the same time, vlogs and social media, then it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
So I just have this big board over here with a lot of words on it, and I just take one word, one topic, one point that I have to do, and I'm just work on it till it's done. Actually, so one word, finish website. That's 2 words, but that can be 2 weeks work.
Yeah, but it's great, that you're capturing those.
Yeah,
a lot of people, they just, I need to do this, but then they never capture it, and it never gets done because it's not it's not getting measured in any way. What about a book? If there was one book you were to recommend to speakers, it could be on speaking, or it could be on humor, or it could be on business or disruption. What would that book be?
I mean, I'm actually reading it now for the second time, and I think some other speakers said it too. That is Being a Global Speaker of Fredrik Haren. I mean, that is a sort of very simple. It's like, yeah, sure, of course, yeah, I knew that. Are there any out there who don't do this? But it is something. If like a small sentence, if you want to be a global speaker, focus on global customers. That's one sentence, but that's really powerful. You said it 3 minutes ago. Sometimes you are in a sort of area of clients, of schools, or I mean, you won't be a global speaker if you perform for schools. That's, in my opinion. So if you use that sentence, look for global companies if you want to be a global speaker. That is very powerful. And that's only one sentence out of the book. So, I mean, that is a sort of, it's not a Bible. It's just a sort of mini hand pocket book that you have to read. And everybody's got something different out of it.
Yeah. And I guess because where you're based as well, there's a lot of global companies that have their headquarters in Amsterdam or Brussels, a bit close to you as well.
Absolutely.
And many of them have been your clients over the years. So then it's about using that relationship to be able to say, I'm going to Malaysia. Is anyone I can speak to in your Malaysia office? And starting to build those relationships. What's in your speaker bag? You obviously have your capitalizer. No, how do you say it again?
Catapultizer.
Catapultizer. Your catapultizer. That's a good word. But what else are you carrying with you to your speaking gigs?
Cameras. I always try to film my shows, and I've got a bag with 5 cameras.
5 cameras. Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of cameras do you use?
Well, it's one 4K camera. So I've got one expensive camera, and actually I bought 4 cameras secondhand. And maybe that's also a good tip. But I just had a look. What were the best cameras 8 years ago? So if you would go to Japan 8 years ago, that's not that long ago. And every Sony or something, they would say, this is our flagship, the best camera. And they are out on the market now for 25, 30 euros, for 25, 30 pounds, because it's 7 or 8 years old and people want the newest camera, the 4K. But actually, those cameras are pretty good. They have 3 CCD sensors in it, so they can, with different lights, they are really good. And I've got just 16 gigabytes memory card in it. And even if you lose one, if somebody steals one, okay, whatever, it's for 30 euros. And I'm always, my 4K big Sony camera, I put with the technician for the big angle, and you can zoom in because nobody uses 4K, so you can do. But the other 4 cameras, you just put bum, 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 bum. One from the back is always really nice because then you see the audience. And then you can make a sort of semi-professional editing instead of one camera, because one camera is never professional. That's a nice footage, but it's never a movie. It's never you can never engage with one point of view.
So these cameras that you're getting, are they like almost like kind of camcorder style cameras, or are they regular like?
It's like this.
And
only if you see this one.
Like camcorder style.
It's Panasonic, but it's a 3 CCD, and they are 25 euros now, secondhand. But they have brilliant footage because those cameras were $900 7 years ago. $900.
I actually have one of those cameras, and I think I bought it secondhand. It was about $200. I got it in Canada. And I filmed pretty much all of my first lot of courses for one of my other businesses, all on that. And the other day I worked out how much money I'd made from that one little camera, and it was insane, the ROI of this one simple camera I just put up on a tripod, all the courses, and did it. So as you say, it doesn't have to be overly technical. So you have your cameras, you have your tripods for them.
Tripod, I bought some claws, with a mount on it, and they because a tripod is always a big hustle, it's like a big thing. Yeah. But if you've got a claw, I don't know why I have it right now, but it's something like this, and there's a claw, and you can just screw it somewhere. So it's like this, and I put it on the thing, camera ready. Yeah. And that really works well. Because it's not much space in my suitcase also, because it's a small claw, and there's always a pipe or something that you can just screw it on, and you get 4 or 5 cameras, different angles, and you just 1 hour that you can film 90 minutes with a full battery and a 60 gigabyte memory card. And so
you have the cameras, that's the visual side. What about the sound? What are you doing to record the sound when you're speaking?
Well, if I've got this on my 4K camera, I've got an external microphone, and so that actually works really well. And if it's a real nice performance, I've got this Zoom or I can't take it. It's an external audio record system, and you just go to the technician and you say, I've got an XLR here. Do you have an output? Could I? Oh, of course, they always work along, and you just put it there, and you can put it in 6 hours before that. You can put it on record, because that audio is not that much data. So even if I'm at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I install it at 12 o'clock. I put it record, and even if there were some really good keynote speakers before you, you've got that one on tape.
You can listen to it.
Don't tell anyone.
And I'm also guessing that many of the speakers that speak at the same events for you, they might be coming up to you afterwards saying, any chance I could get that footage?
Absolutely. I just sent a big movie to Bob Howie and Lloyd Luna. They a 30-minute movie with 4 cameras. We transferred to Lloyd Luna, and he was really happy with that.
Fantastic. So I want you, kind of final questions we finish up here. I want you to imagine you woke up tomorrow morning and you had to start from scratch. So no one knew who you were. You'd never been booked. You didn't have any contacts anymore. You have to completely restart. What would you do? How would you restart your speaking business?
Research. Fredrik Haren always says that you need to speak at least 100 people to get your content. Actually, my content is actually, like I said, I did more than 1,000 company shows, and that is my big bucket of information. I talk to hundreds of CEOs for 2 or 3 hours before I do a gig. And then you hear a lot of inside information. Sometimes you cannot even share this information about fusions or people who are getting fired or whatever. But then you also hear why. And well, when we talk about disruption, suddenly you know a little bit what is going on in this company and why is this division is doing well and this division is doing not so well. So that's all the insights I had. And the last couple of years, I just tried to, because 5 years ago, I didn't even know I needed that information. But now I sort of remember all those conversations, and I make notes, of course. And when I look at those notes, I see a sort of pattern, and that's what I can use when I talk about disrupt yourself. I know what it is when you're in that room. I know what it is to work for a company and not everything goes well, and they ask a little bit too much, and so that's my area of research. But if I would have started over again, you need your bucket of content, not from the internet, not because you see a TEDx, but it's got to be personal. It's got to be from you.
Having those conversations. So that's great advice. And if people want to reach out to you, maybe to recommend you for a speaking gig or to connect with you, to learn more about what you're doing, where's the best place for them to go and do that?
Well, I've got this website, nextglobalspeaker.com. and it's it's working right now. So I hope this afternoon it will be ready. Please have a look. Netglobalspeaker.com, and of course LinkedIn, Tom Sligting / Tom Lightning. I think if you Google Tom Lightning, I will be there, because when I do CEO, I always put my names on every picture that I put on my website or whatever. So, I mean, if you do a little bit of research, you would have you will have to find me.
Fantastic. Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming on today, sharing all about all the incredible stuff you've been doing, how you've been building your speaking career. It's great to have you as a SpeakersU member as well. It's always a delight working with you and seeing your speaking career go from strength to strength. And hopefully we'll be sharing a stage again together in the near future.
Maybe in Namibia. You're going there?
Maybe, yes.
Namibia, yes. I'm going there too. So, I mean, it's a call out there right now. So, well, just we have to learn. Otherwise, I'll see you in Namibia anyway, February.
You heard it here first. You may see us in Namibia. Tom, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you very much. You too.
How would you like to get paid to travel the world to share your message and expertise? How would it feel to get paid $5,000, $10,000, or $25,000 to travel first class and stay in 5-star hotels in exotic locations? What I've just described is the lifestyle of international keynote speakers. And you can join me and over 100 of the world's best keynote speakers and speaker trainers as they reveal their secrets to becoming a better speaker and getting booked to travel the world as a professional keynote speaker. And best of all, as it's an online summit, you don't even have to leave home. Plus, it's not going to cost you a single dollar, euro, pound, ruble, peso, or yen if you sign up for the free pass at internationalspeakerssummit.com. You're going to receive access to never seen before video interviews with over 40 of the world's best keynote speakers. In addition to this, you'll get access to archive interviews from some of last year's summit guests. So in total, you'll be able to watch in-depth interviews with over 100 incredible speakers and speaker trainers. You'll learn how to find a theme for your keynote presentation, how to craft your talk, how to get booked as a speaker, how much to charge, and ways to get paid to speak on stages all over the world. So what are you waiting for? Head over to internationalspeakerssummit.com now.